Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dmitry Kirchev, and I would like to welcome you to the Trading Patterns podcast. With me is Mr. Nikolai Stoykov. Hello, Mr. Stoykov.
Hello, Mr. Kirchev, and hello to our lovely audience.
Episode number 11. We're going to be discussing, you mentioned gross elements, habits of successful traders.
Yes, we're going to be discussing habits for successful trading or of successful traders, and at least the way I see them.
In the previous episode, we discussed subtracting bad habits.
Right.
So is this going to be like the opposite side of the coin where we add healthy habits?
Yes, it's going to be a little bit on the opposite side. Habits that are basically fundamental to building a successful trading career. And without getting those habits correctly, very little could be done. In my experience, that's the case. Which is the habit that I've spoken to you first, Mr. Kirchev?
Sleep. Having a good sleep.
Right. We're going to start from sleep. So the main idea is that sleep is actually underrated, and people, when talking about habits and psychology of trading, many people forget that actually sleep is very important. Its importance to me became clear once I got involved in boxing. And the most important thing in boxing is to be relaxed. So people imagine boxing in terms of hitting and power combinations. But the most important thing that makes the determination whether you're going to win or be a successful boxer in the long run is ability to relax. And that kind of my experience in boxing and amateur boxing gave me the idea that one of the most important elements to successful trading is the ability to rest, and which is sleep. What? Have you ever read anything about sleep before you came to Alaric, Mr. Kirchev?
No, but I ended up getting a master course after that.
Right. To our listeners, we really don't study it that much, and we treat sleep a little bit like calories intake, but that's really a mistake. It turns out that the most important characteristics that's gonna how we describe the quality of sleep is deep sleep. So I encourage traders when they come here and they start their career to buy some sort of a bracelet or maybe a smartwatch and to start to measure their sleep quality. And I was using Fitbit, and now I use Apple Watch. But probably many other, Samsung probably will do. And I think that's very important. Having actually slept, I think most people sleep at, if we use the scale for Apple, in the low to mid 70s. Having slept like that for a while, I could tell you that once you climb over the average score of 80, this really makes a difference.
It's a different world, right?
It's a different world, right, Mr. Kirchev? So when people talk about New Year's resolutions and stuff like that, isn't it possible that the people go running every morning? They just had a good night's sleep, and the people that can't imagine going running or don't feel like it, they just didn't. Isn't it possible, Mr. Kirchev?
I think it's a pretty extensive topic, but just to scratch the surface a little bit here, having a good night's sleep actually includes having other healthy habits.
That's right. But we're gonna go there. So
I think people are not ready to give up, to subtract their bad habits in order to have a good sleep.
But the first thing is we need to take measurements. People are not ready to subtract them because they don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, they don't think it's there.
So the first thing to get the sleep under control is to actually start measuring it. So once you start measuring it, you'd see the impact of the bad habits. So this is the most important thing. We can talk about adding and subtracting, but unless things are measured, very little progress could be made. The most important thing for the quality of sleep to improve is basically how early you go to bed and how long you sleep. So in terms of if you sleep 4 hours a day, 2 times 4 hours, so 2 periods of 4 hours each, this is not as good as 1 period for 8 hours. It's practically impossible to get a high quality sleep if you go to bed after 1 a.m. It's theoretically possible, but it hasn't happened to me. The most important characteristic is the length of deep sleep. In most people, in order to get the highest score, roughly like a very good score, close to 90, you need to have like a deep sleep of 2.5 to maybe 3 hours. I think most people have a deep sleep of maybe an hour. An hour of deep sleep would be kind of low 70 score. So this is again a little bit counterintuitive. The most important thing for a boxer to be successful is his ability to rest. The most important kind of factor for successful trading is also the ability to rest. And people that sleep consistently well handle stress a lot better. They're prone to not making rash decisions, and they tend to stick with their training plan, and their training plans tend to be a lot better than those that don't sleep well. So it really starts in your bedroom, winning the war. Yes, deep sleep, and we're measuring it. The quality of deep sleep. We're trying to get above 75, where the average, the daily fluctuations don't matter so much. We care about the average weekly and monthly score. My goal for any particular month is to be above 80%. The difference between 75 and 80 is measurable. The difference between 70 and 80 is tremendous. It's virtually a different world that you see if your average monthly sleep is 80%. And it would be totally different if your average monthly sleep is 70%.
What have you changed in order to average an 80%?
Right. We're going to speak about this. So the most important thing is basically determination of what you eat and how you eat. This is probably like, again, something that our education system does not teach well, but the most important thing is the determination that we are omnivorous in the sense that we're 98% monkeys, and monkeys in the wild are not vegetarian. They're primarily vegetarian, but they're not strictly vegetarian. So I've come to believe that this is like a very good way of thinking about dieting. So you're kind of leaning on vegetarian meals, but you're not completely vegetarian. The other thing that we can learn from monkeys is that monkeys tend to eat in the early parts of the day. So afternoon, they become very selective. This tend to be slightly opposite to what most people choose to do. They choose to skip breakfast and eat dinner.
Or skip lunch and have a heavy dinner.
That's right. But people rarely skip on the dinner.
I used to be guilty of that.
Yes. This is primarily like social kind of reasons, and also like, it feels good. But the reality you see, if you do that kind of eating plan or kind of pattern of eating, your sleeping scores will be bad, consistently bad. It's just digestion takes energy and body doesn't recover. So we're advocating for like maybe several meals a day, never skipping breakfast, and going light on dinner, or maybe skipping dinner. And yes, the idea to not eat breakfast but eat dinner, if adopted as a kind of way of life, will significantly decrease your recovery rate, and that will show up as stress. Maybe not in several months, maybe not in several years, but over the course of a career, over the course of like a decade, for sure things will get worse. What do you say, Mr. Kirchev?
Yeah, I think a lot of people do that. A lot of people started to become quite famous with the intermittent fasting.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Yeah. So what's your view on that? How does it affect the sleep from your experience?
This is like a real recent decision that I was going to speak in the next episode, but since you asked, I'll tell you. I do follow intermittent fasting now. My first meal is maybe 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. My last meal is maybe 1 or 2 p.m. in the evening, in the afternoon. There are many reasons for that. Primary reason is medical. It seems like if you do that, you actually do have increased hormone production, human growth hormone production, and you really will kind of decrease your stress. But there's other factors that come into play that we want to probably speak into the next episode, because this opens a totally new chapter.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I don't advocate people jumping into it. I have some experience with fasting before, but you should keep it in mind. In general, we're advocating for most people 3 meals a day, and this would be just some sort of a bonus later on if you could do intermittent fasting. There are wrong ways to do intermittent fasting. I think that the idea that people skip a day and then they fast one day and then they eat a different day, that to me probably is not very good. I don't want to go into the reason why I don't think it's that good. One very dangerous way to do it is to do the warrior diet, which basically advocates eating between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. in the evening. You're going to see tremendous decrease in your quality of sleep. You'll never be above 80 if you do that. So again, I could be wrong. I don't know your DNA makeup. So let the quality of sleep tell you which one is the best for you. But for me, clearly intermittent fasting, starting eating in the morning and the last meal early afternoon is the best.
Just a small addition here, a little gold nugget that one of our previous traders used to say. He used to say something like 5 times 7 equals more than 35.
Yes.
So I say that because last year I tried intermittent fasting. It didn't affect me well, but this year I tried it again after you told me to have days off, 2 days off a week that are not consecutive.
Yes.
And it seems to be working much better for me and for my sleep.
Again, the adjustment needs to be slow. So I didn't really want to advocate intermittent right away because people really are patient enough to do it for intermittent fasting. It probably should start slowly in the sense of a feeding window of 10 hours or maybe 12 hours and then slowly decreasing to 8 or even 7. But if you jump right into it, you could experience some sort of discomfort. So yes, but yes. But most important thing is to reduce the eating at night. Even if you do eat some dinner, make it light. But that would be obvious by the quality of your sleeping results. The next thing is we want to talk about, Mr. Kirchev, is alcohol. What are you going to say, Mr. Kirchev? Is alcohol good? Is it bad? Are you sure?
No,
I've read some...
That seems, again, slightly counterintuitive because a lot of people before in my circle would say, oh, I'm just going to drink a small scotch to get sleepy or a glass of wine.
Yes.
And only when I started tracking my sleep, I realized how much of bullshit that is. I mean, severely decreases the quality.
There is a sources of interest, and one of the trusted sources of interest of Wikipedia, and Wikipedia says that alcohol is a poison and just has some sort of a psychological effect on people in drinking. Right. The one thing that is true about alcohol is if you could keep it, and that I have the scores to do it, if you could keep it to 1 glass of wine, your sleep score is not going to be affected. And the only problem with keeping to 1 glass of wine a night is keeping it to 1 glass a night.
That never happens, does it?
I've tried 5 times and I've been able to do it twice. So it's there is a difference between 2 and 3 glasses and 1 glass. There is. There is a difference between not drinking and drinking just 1 can of beer. So one can of beer kind of worsens my sleep score by about 10 to 15%. So it's like on average, if I sleep 80, if I drink a glass of beer, just a can, it's 70. So I really don't have that much observations to be like, having some sort of a grand scheme of things, but I do have enough observations to say that when drinking alcohol, my quality of sleep worsens significantly. There are some sort of a mixed result on the internet. Sometimes people say this thing about like drinking maybe a little bit every night. As I said, the problem is that that's difficult to keep. The second thing that happens is usually if you start drinking at night, you're going to start eating. I mean, like...
Right. One thing leads to the other.
One leads to the other. And it's my experience that people that do drink not a lot of quantities, but regularly, is also subject to gaining weight. So it's quite possible that you gain weight. There is a group of people to which alcohol probably would not significantly worsen their sleep score if they already sleep bad. So if people are staying up late regularly, or just kind of like, doing something that's too exciting for your nervous system late at night, might actually experience relief by drinking alcohol by virtue of kind of like, just relaxing a little bit. But if you already have a good quality of sleep, it's highly unlikely that the alcohol will improve your quality. So this is the thing. If people have difficulty, poor hygiene for quality of sleep, they will experience benefit by drinking alcohol on a regular basis. But if your quality of sleep is good, that would probably not happen. But again, we want to measure our sleep. This is actually very, very important. Your career actually depends on it.
All right. Food and alcohol. Anything else? Exercise?
Clearly, the exercise is important. I don't think I want to give you too much on the exercise because most people are properly informed, and it's just some sort of idea of how I think about things. I think about things as like day and night, exertion and rest. And the one important thing about it is that what we called in the previous episodes, maybe we need to modify it, but we used to call it blowjob effort. I talk about real effort. It's very difficult to measure how people kind of push themselves. One of the clear examples where people push themselves is with their heart rate. So I encourage people not just to work out, but to measure their heart rate, which nowadays with smartwatches seems like very easy. Just to give you an idea, I'm 49 years old, and medical kind of charts say that I should be working out at 155 heart rate a minute, and my maximum heart rate is supposed to be 170. I regularly push it to high 170, low 180s. And that's a blowjob effort. Wouldn't you say, Mr. Kirchhoff?
Yeah, that sounds like a blowjob effort.
Yeah, so this is a real effort. In that particular sense, is when you go that high and you maintain it for half an hour, for even an hour, this is tremendous concentration and tremendous effort. And it's something that you could consciously remember and bringing back this kind of effort into any other activity. If you don't do something kind of as extreme as physical effort and heart rate, it's probably a little bit more difficult to measure the results, but that's possible by kind of attention to details and things like that. But it seems like most young people should be okay with exercising. It's one of the sad things. You see a young person and you see his pulse rate for a month and it never exceeded 135.
Yeah, that's sad.
it's clearly this is not what doctors do. So again, it's exercise is important. but also like, how much you push yourself. And the exercises are not supposed to be every day. So clearly, if your heart rate is like going to like 180 and staying there for quite a bit of time, you don't need to exercise every day. The mistake most people do is they exercise every day, or kind of fairly routine kind of exercises, or really don't go to the edge. This is dangerous. Kind of like you need to know your body, and you need to know where the edge is. But at some point, like you need to measure how often you go to the edge, and what is the result of this going to the edge. This is all where the progress occurs. So, yeah. What do you say, Mr. Kirchhoff? Do you like going to the edge?
It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun, and yeah, definitely you feel more productive.
Right.
You feel good with yourself.
Yes. Again, like, people really, or maybe not people, but most people consider exercise in terms of calories. And I can tell you that progress in terms of intensity is a lot higher at the higher heart rate. So basically, a lot of things happen. Clearly, if medical charts say that my heart rate should never exceed 170 and I could train at 180 and I'm not like fainting or having some sort of seizures, my heart has stayed relatively young. So in that particular sense, the ability to push things, to like exert yourself at like, to the edge, kind of keeps your body in shape and keeps you relatively healthy. So yes, exercise is an important part, especially if you want to improve your quality of sleep. One of the easiest ways to improve your quality of sleep is just exercise a lot, then you sleep. One thing that I'd like to add for the quality of sleep is like the last hour before going to bed is actually very important. I would advise people not to watch documentaries about World War II or like the atomic bomb, not to watch New Detectives. I prefer to play some sort of dark screen and rain or something like that. And yeah, this is like what they call the hygiene, quality of your sleep hygiene. I do not bring cell phones into my bedroom. So cell phone is charging in the living room. It's very important. Your subconscious is very subject to association. And if you bring your cell phone into your bedroom and you start looking at the markets at some point, clearly your subconscious would know that bad news could reach you in your bedroom. Your bedroom should be just for rest and sex. That's it. No TV in the bedroom. No TV in the bedroom.
No TV in the bedroom?
No TV in the bedroom. Only sex and rest. And phone and TV are staying in the living room. Yes. What do you say about that?
Oh, I recently moved my TV to the living room. I don't have one in the bedroom.
Oh, but you used to have it.
I used to have it.
Oh, okay.
Big ass flat screen.
All right.
It was pretty cool to Netflix on it, but it's in the living room.
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is what I had for our listeners this time. Like, we'll go more into the details, but this is what I had. Do you want to ask me something, or just kind of go back on many of those things?
Besides the sleep, what type of a healthy habit can we include in the list, or you want to leave that for the next episode?
I want to leave that for the next episode. The most important thing is like this is something that's all of the things we mentioned are scientifically supported. So like you're not going to find too much contradictory information. And maybe the one thing that most people underestimate is the quality of sleep.
Actually, I do have a question.
Yes.
I just thought about it.
Uh-huh.
Remember that day when you traded options?
Yeah.
And you lost a substantial amount of money for that day?
Yeah.
You went back. How did you sleep?
Bad.
You slept bad?
Yeah, probably very bad. Those days they were not measuring devices.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have the device, but
probably bad. Yes, probably really bad. I used to call those days, like really bad days, bench days, because you go and sit on a bench and it doesn't matter if it's snowing or raining or sunny, you just go into the park. So there could be days like that. Yeah, those are really, we'll talk about, like,
Those are like out of pattern events.
yeah, really out of pattern events that you interpret very negatively. So,
But let's say now a lot has changed. You're
Yes.
at the very least in a much more calm area, in a much more, I would say, maybe calm country. Not much is happening. Not so much action. So when something out of pattern happens,
yes,
does it affect your sleep?
it does still affect my sleep, but not as much. Again,
Do you learn to mitigate the effect of it by meditation, or
I learned to mitigate the effect by changing my value system. So my health comes first. Everything else doesn't matter. It's like, I mean, this is the most important thing. Is like the reason why people feel worried is because they habitually kind of put other things first, like what other people think, how much money you're gonna make, and how much car you're gonna, like, what kind of car you're gonna get, or how many girls you're gonna sleep with. It's very little could be done in terms of, like, substantially changing your outlook, or, like, what the future holds for you, unless you change the value system. But this is a slow process, and part of the change in value system is what you choose to do. And in order to be a successful trader, you have to see things differently than most people, and or do things differently than most other people. And we don't really think about this, but in my opinion, those two are connected. In order to see things differently, you need to have different habits than most people and most traders. And the one habit that most traders, first of all, traders are willing to do a lot more than the average people. So traders are definitely, like, out there looking for an edge. But the one thing that traders are still consistently unwilling to do is improve substantially the quality of sleep, unless they have to. That happens, but this is an edge. It's not enough. It's not going to make you a successful trading career. But if you don't do that, you will not have a successful trading career. Something will happen.
so quality of sleep?
Quality of sleep. Quality of sleep.
It's the first step, the very least.
Yes, sleep contains it all. It's measurable and really contains a lot of things. How you kind of internalize stress, most importantly. So yes, we wanna see how you internalize stress. We want to see how you internalize stress, and that will be in your sleep score.
I see. Okay. Gross elements, healthy habit.
Yes.
Healthy habits of a successful trader.
Right. Maybe one thing I want to add. We will probably, like, do the next episode something probably a lot more interesting, a lot bigger than this. But the most important thing is, don't try to incorporate everything we speak about right away. Slowly. I really encourage you to get first the tracking device and to get your sleep seriously above 75. So it's like if you're in the low 70s or even below 70 on a monthly score, very little could be done for you. Like, you need to score consistently above 75 for many of those things to get. If you score below 75, you're probably breaking two things: you're eating at night, drinking, or you're watching TV too much. So it's like, that's very, very simple as that. So it's like you are either watching something that, like, is not really good for your sleep, or you're eating and drinking too much. I recommend maybe drinking kind of like once or twice a week at most. I drink usually once or twice a month. So it's like, this is really, again, like, something I choose to do because, like, I don't want to be a monk or stuff like that. But yes, like, I know I'm going to pay a price. And yes, nothing or very little could be expected to work if you sleep below 75. Ideally, you want to get above 80. We have like a trader that wants to hit 98. I don't think I've hit above 90. Mr. Kirchhoff had said hit 91.
91, yeah.
Right. So it seems like, realistically speaking, like low 80s average is probably something that could be done. It's not out of this world and could be maintained. Maybe you allowed a little fluctuations, but staying above 75 is like, I think a good start.
It's a good spot, yeah.
Yeah.
So, ladies and gentlemen, get a tracking device.
Get a tracking device. Fitbit or Apple Watch or Samsung.
Samsung, anything, yeah. Anything that tracks your sleep.
Yeah, track your sleep. Yeah.
And at least on a weekly basis.
Yeah, measure it on a weekly basis. Like, don't get excited about daily.
That's what I would do. I mean, when I scored 91, I was really excited. I was like, okay, that's it. My life is going to be better now.
Effect is a little bit psychosomatic. So it's
I
like...
was going to ask you about this.
Get used to that word. It's called psychosomatic. It means like what you believe, you actually feel like that.
Yeah, your thoughts affect your...
Yeah, so your quality of your sleep, the sleep score could actually make you sad or happy. But those are overreactions. Like I've learned, not to overreact on the score. And that's why it's very important. You could have a bad day of sleep, but you could still function quite well if your average monthly score is high. So it's like, even if you score like say 56, which is really bad, it means like you went to bed at like 2 o'clock and you woke up at 7 after a night of drinking, maybe. If your average monthly score is 80, you could still function that day.
Yeah, you have reserves.
Yeah, you have reserves. So in that particular sense, abstracate yourself from the daily observations and just work on what's the average weekly and average monthly. But 2 or 3 days of average 56, you're not gonna have energy. So you could do it for one night, maybe 2. But if you start regularly sleeping 56 and 60, bad things are gonna happen.
All right. Mr. Stoykov, thank you very much
for your time. Thank you, Mr. Kirchhoff, and thank you to the lovely audience. And we'll be back with more instructions, more specific instructions. But you need to get your sleep right first. Thank you.
Right. Please, if you like listening to us, don't forget to subscribe and like.
Yes, like and subscribe.
Yeah, it affects us in a positive way.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye.
you.